Every single day, we share tons of photos of our families online. We think we're just sharing memories, right? But in this new age of AI, that simple act, well, it's become a really high-stakes decision. So let's dive in and pull back the curtain on what's really happening behind the screen, and most importantly, how you can protect the people that matter most. So let's just start with a huge question, one that gets right to the heart of this whole thing. Do you really own the photos you post online? I know you think you do, but the answer, it's way more complicated than you'd imagine. And getting your head around it is the absolute first step toward real digital safety. So, here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start by shattering the ownership illusion. Then we'll look at the scary new threats coming from AI. From there, we'll talk about your job as a digital steward, build a solid, proactive defense strategy, and finally, lay out exactly what to do if the worst happens and your photos are misused. Okay, first up, the ownership illusion. You know, the whole problem really starts with that one little word, sharing. It sounds so harmless, so innocent, but in the digital world, it's not a social act. It's a binding legal one. Check this out. This slide really breaks down the massive gap between what we think is happening and what's actually happening. You think you're just sharing a sweet private memory, but in reality, you're granting a legal license. You think the photo is private, but it's really entering a permanent digital public square. And that idea that you own the photo, well, you've just signed away almost all your control over how it gets used, changed, or passed around. So this is the key. It's called the licensing trap, and it's buried in those terms of service none of us ever read. The second you click upload, you grant that platform a super broad, and get this, often irrevocable license. That means they can use, store, and distribute your content pretty much however they want. Yeah, you still technically hold the copyright, but you've given away the keys to the car. This brings us to a really simple but incredibly powerful rule. I want you to remember this one. It's called the Times Square test. Before you post any photo, just ask yourself this. Would I be okay with this picture being plastered on a giant digital billboard in the middle of Times Square for the whole world to see? If the answer is no, even a little bit, then it has no business being online. It really is that simple. And that lack of control we just talked about, well, it's about to get a whole lot scarier. We're now dealing with the new AI threat. The risk has completely evolved from just, oversharing to something much worse, malicious transformation. You see, the danger today is it's fundamentally different. Your family photos aren't just pictures anymore. They are high-quality data. They've become raw fuel for sophisticated AI systems that can twist and warp them into some truly harmful, deeply exploitative content. And this shows you exactly how that happens. It's a pipeline. It all starts with one cute, innocent photo shared on social media. Step 2, that photo, now public data, gets scraped up and harvested by AI generators. And then in the final, absolutely terrifying step, that harmless photo is transformed into something malicious, like a deepfake or even child sexual abuse material, what's known as CSAM. Okay, so faced with a threat like that, our whole mindset has to shift, which brings us to your stewardship mandate. This is all about dropping the share mindset and adopting the mindset of a protector. Think of yourself as the steward, the guardian of your child's privacy foundation. Every single photo you post today helps build a permanent digital record, a digital tattoo that they never, ever consented to. This isn't just about privacy today, it's about protecting their future. And please, do not fall for the myth of the private account. The sources are crystal clear on this. Those accounts are not fortresses. They're more like a sieve. Data just leaks out through friends of friends, through screenshots, through platform bugs, and it all ends up in the permanent public record. Okay, so how do we fight back? Let's get really practical here. This is all about building your proactive defense. And we need a layered strategy because there's no single silver bullet. This right here, this is your most important tool. It's the stewardship checklist. Before you even think about posting, you have to run through these 5 questions. We already talked about the Times Square test, but what about a metadata check? Are you accidentally sharing your exact location hidden in the photo's data? Then do a quick licensing audit. What rights are you giving away? And the foundation test. Does this post respect my child's privacy, not just now, but 10, 20 years from now? And finally, the safe harbor check. Is there a better, more secure, more encrypted way to share this memory? So beyond that checklist, you need to actually implement these security measures. For any sharing that's even remotely sensitive, use encrypted storage services, not public social media.
For your kids' artwork or school stuff, slap a watermark on it. And always, always be vigilant. Actually read those key clauses in the terms of service.
But what if, despite all your best efforts, something goes wrong? That brings us to our last section. Responding when misuse occurs. You need to have an emergency protocol ready to go before you ever need it.
Speed is everything here. Step 1 is direct action. Find the website owner and contact them immediately. If that doesn't work, you escalate to a formal DMCA takedown notice. Service providers are legally required to act on those quickly. And if you're dealing with a dispute where you're looking for damages, there's something called the Copyright Claims Board. It's a super powerful, low-cost way to handle things without getting tangled up in the expense and complexity of federal court. Now, listen up, because this slide is critical. If the situation crosses the line into serious criminality, you have to get law enforcement involved. I seriously recommend you pause right here and take a screenshot of this directory. These are the official channels for reporting everything from general cybercrime all the way up to immediate threats. And one final pro tip for you. When you file that report, your evidence is everything. You absolutely must preserve it. That means saving the direct web addresses, taking screenshots of the content where it's posted, and saving any technical data like messaging headers you can find. Remember, your report is only as strong as your proof. So, we'll end with this question. The digital story you are writing for your child, right now, is permanent. It can't be erased. The only thing left to decide is who is holding the pen.